The producers, I didn't want to do a scary movie. They asked me to be in the movie as an actor first. And I don't do horror movies, or at least I didn't before doing this. So I just said, I don't know if I want to be in this movie. And then they pitched me the one-liner, which was, you know, a family that has to remain quiet, and we have to figure out why. And I thought, that's as good a one-liner as you can get. And when I read the first script, it was such an amazing idea and such an amazing concept, and the set pieces were fantastic. But what I really bonded to was this idea of family, being a parent myself. And actually, 3 weeks before I got the script, we had had our second daughter. So I was in this wide open place of new parenthood, which is full of fear, full of self-doubt, full of insecurities, and that's all the things that the family's going into. So when I decided to do my rewrite, the whole thing was I wanted to bear down on that idea of family more. So for me, I know it's insane when you look at the poster, but at the end of the day, this is a love letter to my kids. I think the sound we knew would be imperative and a huge part of the movie. I mean, not even a main character, it's almost, you know, the whole movie. It's such a big deal. So I got to experience it, you know, from the ground up. I've never done anything this sound intensive, so it was one of those things where being aware of sound while we were shooting was really fun, but then in post-production, you start building the world of sound, and you realize how unbelievably cool the sound designers are, the sound mixers are, and then as you go forward, it was as cool to play with taking sound out as it was putting sound in. So we play with all these different perspectives, and we pull sound out of the movie at different times, which is really fun and for a good reason. And that was really the fun part, is getting to see how far you could push this thing. The key for me, I think, I knew that this would be the scariest film if you A, fell in love with this family, so you didn't want anything to happen to them, but B, if you could immerse the audience in the world that the family's living in. So once you're in the movie for a good 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're now as terrified to make sound as they are. And so my favorite compliments about the movie is that it's not just a film, it's an experience. And people said, I bought this bin of popcorn and didn't eat one piece because I didn't want to make a sound. Like, there's no cooler compliment than that. This one in particular, probably other than anything else I've directed, I saw it from start to finish. And I saw it very early on. It was one of those things where I had only read about people having such a clear vision of a movie, and I didn't think I'd ever be able to have that in my life. And then this happened, and I had all these ideas because probably being a new dad sort of thrust me into having a very clear vision and a clear emotional connection. So to me, it was one of those things where, very unlike anything I had done before, the script had to be as tight as what we were going to end up with, because there isn't a lot of room to make a mistake and have a scene that doesn't work, because this is such a moving train, as it were, that if you were just missing a scene altogether, the other two wouldn't connect. To be honest, I went through all the emotions. I think that at first it seemed exciting, and then when you're in post-production, I mean, we wrapped on November 1st, and the movie will come out on April 9th, or April 6th, sorry. So that's 5 months. And 5 months is a short amount of time for any movie, but it's a really short amount of time for something that's this visual effects heavy, this sound heavy. And so, yeah, it was exciting for a second, and then it became absolutely terrifying. But like you said, I think at the end of the day, there's something about being under that schedule that allowed us to do the work that we did, because I worry that with a conceit this big, you know, this idea of no dialogue or very little dialogue, if you gave us 6 more months, we'd just tinker to oblivion. We'd probably just drive ourselves insane. The truth is, a week before we were shooting, I went looking for an editing bay and where we were going to edit, and where we decided to edit was actually where Mary Poppins was being edited. So Rob Marshall, the amazing director, came up to me and said, when do you start? And I said, next week. And he said, oh, you're going to see. And I said, I know, I'm her biggest fan. He said, no, you'll see. Not until you're on set with her, when she does what she does, when you're in the room and she does what she does, will you know why she's such a good actress. And I thought, that's such an incredible compliment, but also, what the hell does he mean? And then you see her actually do what she does in the room, and it's truly magic. I mean, what she does is unbelievable. She can sort of harness this energy, this performance in a moment, and then it's gone. Meaning, this scene that the poster is so intense. She did only 1 take of it because she nailed it in the first take. And then as soon as I called cut, she said, what's for lunch, by the way? And so she's able to pop right out of this intensity. So I think one of the things I learned is how good she is and why. I've always been told don't work with kids because they slow the day down and they lose time and they never get the takes right. And I had the exact opposite experience. I mean, these are some of the best actors I've ever worked with and some of the best people. And I remember actually writing an email to George Clooney, not to name drop, but he had worked with Noah in Suburbicon. And that's exactly what he said. When I wrote him an email and said, you know, what do you think about this kid? He said, not only is the best child actor you'll ever work with, and then in parentheses he said, and I've worked with them all, because when you're Doug Ross on ER, you've worked with every child actor on the planet. And he said, but he's the greatest guy and he'll save you time because he gets it in one take. And he did. I mean, and then Millie, we always wanted a deaf actress. That was non-negotiable for me. But what I didn't realize is I would get such an amazing actress, but also I got such an incredible thinker, such an incredible guide. She was so generous in her experience and so open and so kind about, you know, I knew what I wanted to convey here, but she really led me through what's it like to be in a family of hearing people when you're deaf. Are you angry when you're deaf? Are you empowered when you're deaf? Do you have these feelings? And she was so kind to guide us through. So they really did change the dynamic of the movie. Everybody had a hand in it. As exciting as it is to go to the movies, I think there's something about watching characters that are flawed that make you connect to them, because I think we're all flawed. And if you watch people who are perfect, I think it becomes boring. So for me, there's so much going on, and these people are dealing with so much. And not only is there fear and terror, but there's ideas of guilt, and there's ideas of blame and shame and all these different things that we go through every single day. And so there's a moment in the movie where you're wondering if the father even loves his daughter anymore. And I think that this lack of connection is something that certainly some people experience. And to explain it during a movie that's so intense that feels like a horror movie and have this really grounded relationship about two people who don't get each other was one of the most fun things to play with. It was really sad, but it was really fun, and I had such an amazing partner with her.